studying Kuzari together. Anyone here know what the book, aside from those are regulars, don't know what the book of the Kuzari is?
Oh, hello.
Yeah, we
Do
learned
we?
about it.
Yeah. I think we
What?
learned about it this year.
What is it?
This year.
Okay, at least we got it. At least we learned about it.
The
School's
king,
over, right?
the whole
On
nation
what?
converted or something?
Wait,
Oh, yeah, we did learn
yeah,
about it.
Nation that converted.
Yeah.
What? The Kuzari.
Like
שאלות ותשובות על התורה. Questions and answers on the Torah.
שמי כתב מלך כוזר כתב ל...
Okay, you're close. She's good. To polish up in Hebrew, Chaver. The book of the Kuzari was written by a man by the name of Rabbi Yonatan Halevy. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy is from the medieval Spanish HaShamayim. Rabbi Yonatan Halevy wrote this book about 400 years after this story happened. Let's say that the story that's brought in the book of the Kuzari may not be true. May not be true. Rather, it could be that Rabbi Yonatan Halevy either rewrote the story the way he thought it would have happened, or, more likely, is he wanted to teach Jewish people Torah, and the way he did it was the way many people do it, which is to take a story that's well known, and to transform that story into one that says the story that you wanted to share. So Rabbi Yonatan Halevy is not recording history here. He's recording a well-known story, and he's writing a Jewish book in the base of this well-known story. What's the well-known story? The well-known story is that once upon a time, there was a king of the country Kuzari, the Khazar kingdom, somewhere in Russia today. The king of Kuzar had a dream that kept coming to him. And the dream said that, your actions are your thoughts, your intention to get close to me is good, but your actions are not good. You're worshipping idols. And this king of Kuzar tries to find the right way to serve Hashem. And he tries Greek philosophy, he tries Christianity, he tries Islam. At a certain point, he falls upon the Chacham. The Chacham is the rabbi of the Jewish people who he's talking to. What ends up happening, according to the story, is the king of Kuzar converts to Judaism. Later, his entire kingdom converts to Judaism. And they become from a very great nation of non-Jews to a very great nation of Jews outside of the land of Israel. This story that we're learning, we're about 6 years in. So forgive me if there's some things that you missed. But the story that we're in, we're only in the second essay, we go very slow. The story is now at the point where the king has already converted to Judaism. His kingdom is already becoming Jewish. And now he's trying to understand this whole idea of what is the centrality of the land of Israel to the Torah? Why is it so important, the land of Israel? Land of Israel. Who cares? Just be Jewish wherever you are. Why the land of Israel? And that's exactly where we're falling out right now. I think it's important to note here that some people may have a mistaken view on conversion, where they think that a person has to know everything before they convert to Judaism. The language of the Shulchan Aruch is very clear. The Beit Din has an obligation to let a person know miktzat mitzvot kalot, some of the light mitzvot, miktzat mitzvot chamorot, some of the heavier mitzvot. We also share a little bit of the punishments, the consequences of violating a mitzvah. So, for example, we tell a person, yesterday you could have had pig, but today if you eat pig, it's already a biblical prohibition, and so on and so forth. The Shulchan Aruch is very clear that we don't tell too many consequences. The reason is, we don't want to scare a person away. We don't want to scare a person away from deciding that they want to convert to Judaism. Maybe you'll have a chance to study with me the laws of conversion in the next few weeks, maybe not. But one thing you should know is the laws of conversion as they apply in the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam and the Talmud look nothing like the way the Jewish people have perverted it to the point where it is today. Why is that important to us? Because you see here, the king of Kuzar still doesn't know everything by the time he converts to Judaism. He converts to Judaism, and he still has more questions. The point is that he reached a place where Rabbi Yonatan Halevy said he feels comfortable, that he's already in a good place. From here on out, he's convinced that he'll continue learning. At that point in time is the correct time for a person to enter Am Yisrael. Before I even get to the land of Israel, I want to read you from a different book. I found this book actually now. I was in Israel. I was in a bookstore, and they had this really not fancy looking book. In fact, I didn't even know what it was when they sold it to me. So I got it for a good price. This book is called Sfat Emet, the True Tongue, written by a Chacham named Rabbi Moshe Chagiz. Rabbi Moshe Chagiz is famous for two reasons. One is his very famous father, Rabbi Yaakov Chagiz. Rabbi Yaakov Chagiz is the first Sephardic Chacham to start a yeshiva, I'm talking about hundreds of years ago, that has a secular education department to it. If you heard about what's going on in New York and the East Coast and everything else, this is one of the earliest yeshivot that had not just a secular studies department, but a vocational studies department. If you were a very learned yeshiva student and you were going to be the next rabbi of the Jewish people, they would only give you a select secular studies, things you need to know to be a well-rounded human being. You wouldn't study vocation, you would study sciences and philosophy and mathematics. And if a person, let's figure, listen, they're learning Torah now, but it's not going to be their profession forever, they had a track for people to learn a trade. I don't know what it was, to learn a trade and to go out into the workforce and still remain Talmid Chacham. There's a sad side of this story. Rabbi Moshe Chagiz is also the number one opponent of a man by the name of the Ramchal. Who was the Ramchal?
Chaim Lozarov.
Rabbi
Chaim Lozarov.
Rabbi Moshe Ram Chaim Lutzato. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzato.
Mesalat Yasharim.
He writes a book, Mesalat Yasharim, Derech Hashem, Krach Pitchei Chochma, a number of different works. You know about the life of the Ramchal?
He died young.
He died young, very young, in his 30s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Maybe 40, but in his 30s.
People also didn't want to read his sefer.
People what?
Didn't want to read his
They
sefer
didn't want to read a sefer. Why? Do you know?
because they were scared of him or something.
Because he got the angel was teaching, telling him.
You understand? Ramchal becomes a Kabbalist when he's somewhere around the age of 13 or 14 or 15. And he starts telling people that angels are coming to talk to him. And he starts publishing books on matters of Kabbalah that people 80 years older than him didn't even begin to understand things that he was writing. And to top it off, it got even worse. The Ramchal put together a yeshiva of students that were sworn, real swearing, like on a Sefer Torah, sworn to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to love each other, and to study the secrets of Kabbalah in private, alone with each other. And this yeshiva, they had many rules. I have a list of his rules right here in his yeshiva. They were not allowed to speak Lashon Hara about each other. What does it mean, not allowed to? I know the halacha and the Torah, you can't speak Lashon Hara. But here, really, you couldn't speak any Lashon Hara, like nothing. If someone was a member of your yeshiva, you were in love with them, like you were with the Shekhinah, like you were with them, this was a pact that was made between these people. And to many rabbis, this looked like a cult. A young guy says angels are talking to him, teaching secrets of the Torah. They talked a lot about him that he didn't even have a beard. So could be Ramchal actually shaved. I'm not saying no, but he was very young, so he probably didn't have a beard just because of that. And it sounded like to a lot of people that he was crazy. He had a rabbi. Anyone know the Ramchal's rabbi's name? You know it. You won't say it. Rabbi Yochanan Basan. Bet Samech Aleph Nun. Rabbi Yochanan Basan was a very well-respected Sephardic Chacham. And he spent much of his life trying to protect his student, the Ramchal. At a certain point in time, the Beit Din accuses the Ramchal of being all about people's money. He wanted people's money. There's a Kabbalist that wants people's money. The Ramchal was the Kadosh Hashem, was the holiest of Hashem's children. The Rabbi Yochanan Basan writes a letter, I have it in my house, the letters of the Ramchal, in which he says, I can tell you that my student, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lusato, doesn't even know how to count money. He doesn't know, if you give him a quarter, he wouldn't know what a quarter is. If you give him $1, he wouldn't know how many quarters go inside of $1. He has nothing to do with money. He doesn't live in this world. So what can you do? There's a very old saying that haters will be haters. And they just kept hating. And unfortunately, it led to really ugly things. The Beit Din in Germany burnt all of the Ramchal's handwritten manuscripts. They sentenced him in Beit Din for being a heretic. They took his manuscripts. They demanded from him that he should bring his kitvei handwritten manuscripts to the Beit Din to be burned, and he brought them himself to the Beit Din to be burned. You understand? The Ramchal wrote something like 180 books, of which you have maybe 6 of them, 7 of them. Big rabbis, big Dayanim. Don't think the chief rabbis of the whole world. They decided that the Ramchal's books are worthy to be burned. Because he was not mainstream, because he was a heretic, because he didn't do things the way they did. I'm going to leave it though here, that I can't judge Moshe Chagiz. I don't know what he was going through, I don't know who he was, I don't know his worst. All I know is I have this book in front of me, which is very important. Because it has to do with things that happened today. Maybe 2 weeks ago, one big Hasidic Rebbe wasted all his money to buy an extra place in Gehinnom. where he rented a stadium to speak to the whole world about how much he hates the land of Israel and how much he hates the state of Israel and how much he feels. Actually, it's good. He chose a good parsha. He chose Parshat Shlach. So it was the sin of the spies. He was the new spy of the generation. Spoke all about how bad Israel is. We don't need Israel. Who needs Israel? And it's not a new thing. Don't think. He didn't invent the wheel. There are the people who've done this before. The spies. There were the first 12 who did it. 2 which got off the hook. And then throughout history, Vimasu be'eretz chemda. They degraded. They hated the land of Israel. Vimasu be'eretz chemda, says the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon has a student. His name is Rabbi Hillel of Shikolov. Rabbi Hillel of Shikolov has a very small book. I also have it at home. You want to see? Rabbi Hillel of Shikolov writes, and he took notes. The Vilna Gaon used to give a class. What is Mashiach going to look like? So if you think Mashiach is just for Hasidim, you're wrong. The Litvish people also believe in Mashiach. Believe it or not, it's one of the 13 principles of the Jewish faith. And the Gaon of Vilna writes there everything that is going to happen when the Mashiach comes. One of the things that he writes is that the leaders of the Jewish people, the religious leaders of the Jewish people, and most of the religious communities are going to be those who oppose the Jews coming back to the land of Israel the most. And it's going to be a continuation of the Chet HaMeraglim, the sin of the spies. And these are going to be the current day Meraglim. I'm treading in dangerous waters, and I'm watching my wife's face to make sure I don't say anything wrong. And then
they
say,
still have another 2.5 weeks.
So this book here, this letter is translated from Spanish. And this man says, Rabbi Moshe Chagiz, we call him Hamaniach, the rabbi there. Rabbi Moshe Chagiz, I heard some Chachamim say that today you don't have to go to the land of Israel. When Mashiach comes, we'll go to the land of Israel. But until then, Jews don't have an obligation to go to the land of Israel. Rabbi Moshe Chagiz answers this in a number. So the whole book is an answer to this question. But in chapter 2 comes something interesting. V'chi tomar b'tom levavcha. And if you tell me with innocence in your heart, Harei הספקות שאני מסתפק הם על פי חכמים היודעים ללמוד. You know, every time you tell somebody something, halakha says X. Well, how come all the rabbis tell? I don't know what all the rabbis, why did they say? Somebody once came to a rabbi and said, Rabbi, if you're right, then why doesn't Rav Shach and Bnei Brak hold like you? He says, do you have a TV in your house? He said, yes. Well, why don't you go ask Rav Shach why he doesn't hold like me? While you're there, ask Rav Shach what he thinks about the TV in your house. Everybody has to hold of everybody. It doesn't work that way. Nobody has a monopoly in the Torah. But you're telling me, how could what you're saying be true, that we have to go to the land of Israel? There's so many rabbis that say that we don't have to go to the land of Israel. There's so many rabbis who live outside of the land of Israel. Who's talking? Me. Officially, when somebody asks me where do I live, what do I tell them? In Yerushalayim. I made Aliyah to Israel. Not formal Aliyah, not with paperwork. I moved to Israel. And I was sent by my yeshiva to open up a community in San Diego. But our rabbinic conventions are in Israel. Our headquarters are in Israel. All my halachic questions get answered in Israel. Israel's our headquarters. What happened to be here? I was born here too, but that's I left. I did tshuva already. I went, and then I was sent back. Clearly, the land I wasn't holy enough for. So you're saying that the rabbis that we consult with that say you could live here, they all know how to learn Torah. So they of course they know what you know, and they know everything you know, and they still decided they don't have to go to Israel. והם הם אשר השמיעו באוזניי את אלה הדברים אשר אני שואל ממך. And they're the ones who taught me the Torah that I'm asking you about. The Jews don't have to go to the land of Israel today. So what is Rabbi Chagiz's answer? The following. אשר לזאת מוכרח אני לומר לך בחיי נפשי. I have to answer you this with the life, and then he's swearing, I must answer you this question. כי אין ספק אצלי כל איש חכם לפי דבריך, שאתה מסתפק בזה וכיוצא בו. If you're telling me that there are chachamim that have a doubt as to whether Jews belong in the land of Israel before Mashiach comes, לא פליט מחד המתרתי. He's either in one of these two categories. או שנזרקה בו רוח מינות, or something happened to his neshama and he became a heretic, he became a non-believer in Hashem. That's the only way that someone could say that Jews don't have to go to the land of Israel. והתורה שלמד נעשית לו סם המוות, and the Torah that he learned became the poison that's going to kill him. The Talmud says on Masechet Brachot that the Torah is like a double-edged sword. It could heal a person, it could make them great, it could also kill a person. I'm sure you've met religious people that have been the kindest people in the world. because of the Torah they studied. And I'm sure you've also heard or met religious people that if they weren't wearing a different kind of clothing, they could be terrorists that came from, I don't know, Iraq. It could be like that. Because the same Torah that a person learns, it really depends what you learn. How did the Torah get absorbed inside of you? If David HaMelech says, it's a tree of life to all who hold on to it. All of her ways are peaceful. And a person learns Torah and they become violent. Now they send me a video from Yerushalayim. There's a guy walking around, beard, kippah. Every lady in the street that wasn't dressed in you started hitting her with a stick. Yeah, for real. Maybe he's crazy. I don't care if it's crazy. But he thinks he's doing something religious. How could you study the Torah that I study and hit anybody with a stick? Because something is wrong in the Torah that you study. So this is the Moshe Chagis could be that something that they studied is wrong. It got messed up inside of them. You downloaded software on your computer, there was a virus. It was a good software, but the virus got messed up. The virus messed up the software that was in your computer. What can you do? It happens.
Maybe someone should hit him with the stick for stirring up the ladies. Checking them out.
Boy, though.
Probably did.
We're gonna have a lot of hitting going on,
Touche.
Kuzari.
Yeah.
Oh, Be'emet, and I don't want to read all the bad things he says. Or it could be, Hayotel Vaday Etzli. This makes more sense by me. Hu she'en ze chacham, that he's not really a chacham in the first place. I mean, don't tell me he was a chacham that went off. Rather, he wasn't really a chacham in the first place. Vim kara, and if he learned Chumash or Tanakh, lo shana, he didn't study Mishnah. Vim shana, and if he studied the Mishnah, lo pirshu lo rabotav yafeh, then his rabbis didn't do a good job explaining to him what it was that he studied. השגחה נצרכת וראויה לדקדק בדברי התורה הנביאים והחכמים, העניים במקום אחד, העשירים במקום אחר, וטעמם בזה ונומקם עמם. He said sometimes when people study, they go to yeshiva, they learn by rabbis, they sit in it, but they don't really understand what it was they studied. Sometimes it could be the rabbi's fault. I've given smicha to people in my life. It's a terrifying thing. You know, to make someone a rabbi for me is scarier than making someone Jewish. Because I'm taking responsibility. This person is a chacham now. That they've joined the ranks of a person who's worthy of teaching Torah to somebody. My Rebbe, should live and be well. We had a guy in the yeshiva once. That he passed all the tests. Like he knew how to salt a cow, he knew what to do if the cow fell into a pot of chicken soup, he knew all the things. Everything you need to know to be a rabbi, very useful things. What happened at Shabbat if a cow jumps over a fence, whatever very important things you need to know to be a rabbi.
They did a little.
But he was a terrible person. What do you mean terrible? Was a egotistical freak. It was everything was about him. The whole world revolved around him. And he took very seriously what a rabbi said. Kol ha'olam lo nivra ela bishvili. The whole world was created just for me. Rabbi Nachman Bersa says, what does it mean the whole world was created for me? I can't count on anybody else to fix the world. If there's a problem in the world, then I have to get up and fix the problem. That's what it means. But he understood it differently. No, the whole world was created for me, so everyone is here to serve me. There are a lot of people like that. So came time, our parents tried to get him to leave the yeshiva a few times. He didn't leave. After 4 years or 5 years of studying there, he came to our parents to get his smicha. And our parents said, I won't give you smicha. I'm not going to make you a rabbi. He said, why not? He said, because you're a terrible person. How could I put you responsible of other human beings? He said, but I studied 4 years, and now I have to go work. I'm not going to get a job. You're not going to give me smicha. Who's going to give me a job? He says, don't worry, I'll give you a certificate that you could be a shochet. You could be a slaughterer of chickens and cows. He said, but I never studied shechita in my life. I'm going to make all the animals not kosher. I never studied this. I'll tell them it's better for you that you should make animals not kosher than you should make human beings not kosher. It's better you should mess up on the chickens. Don't mess up on neshamas. Don't mess up on people. There are such people. There are chachamim that trained them, didn't sit around long enough to see what was going to happen with them. L'chen ata ahuv, you my beloved ka'ach, the beloved like a brother. Berach me'achachamim ka'elu. Run away from people like these. Shelo shimshu kol tzorgam, that didn't study properly. V'shachachamim hema be'enehem. The only ones who consider themselves wise are themselves. Ki boreach min hanachash hakadmoni. Run away from him not like you run away from a snake. Run away from him like you run away from the snake in Gan Eden. The first snake that the whole world is ruined because of him. Al ta'amin bam. Don't trust them. Ki tidabu alecha tovot. They're going to speak nicely to you. יען בפועל ראיתי רבים מהם שבכוח הרעיון ההוא שמדמים בעצמם מוצרים משכלם המזוהים. I've seen these rabbis before, says Moshe Chagis. They come around and in their polluted heart in their ugly heart, they think, שגם להם לבב כלבבות האנשים החכמים, האלוהים רבותינו הקדמונים. They think, hey, you know, there's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and there's me. There's the Rambam and I don't agree with the Rambam. What can I do? There's Rabbi Yosef Kamo Shulchan Aruch. No, we think differently than him. Who do you think you are? You come around to the Jewish scene. They're chachamim that are greater than any person that ever lived on this earth, and you know better than them. They all say that it's a mitzvah to live in the land of Israel, but this one, who is he? He thinks he's smart. He decided he's like everybody else. He can say you don't have to go to Israel. I want to read the rest of the letter because it's really harsh. If what I said wasn't bad enough, it was really bad. But you have this understanding in the world today. The Jews don't realize how important Eretz Yisrael is to the Jewish people. You can live wherever you live. I'm not here to tell you right now, tomorrow make aliyah, have parents, jobs, kids. I'm not here to stick my nose in this. But if you for one moment think that we're going to be here longer than we were in any other exile that we were in, listen, it was great for us in Spain. We had a golden era of Spain. The Jews were at the top of Spanish society, more than any other country we ever were in. All the advisors to the king, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, were Jewish. The neo-Nazis have what to say about us. They're right. And what happened? Overnight, the king and the queen remembered just how Catholic they were and how important it is to turn the other cheek. And so they turned the other cheek and threw us out of town. The Barbanel, Rabbi Yonatan writes in his diary, he says, you know, until the Spanish expulsion, people think they just threw us out. Like, here, take a plane ticket, go to New York. It's not how it worked. Burning people alive, murdering children in the streets. As we left Spain, people were massacring the Jewish people in the streets. We're leaving. Like, what do you want from? Where can we go? They were killing us then too. Says Don Yitzchak Balbanel, he was before that, he was the treasurer of the Spanish government. He says, until today, I thought animals only walked on 4 legs. But today, I met animals that walk on 2 legs also. That was what he remembered from the Spanish expulsion. It was so bad in the Spanish expulsion, it was during the 9 days, the Tisha B'Av, that's when it happened. The rabbis allowed us to play music, live music, in the 9 days. Even though it was a time of destruction, just so the Jewish people wouldn't die from depression that they had. That's how ugly it was. And then we go where? To Germany. You know how great it was for Jews in Germany? You think it was good for you in America? What we have here as Jews in America is nothing compared to what Jews had in Germany. And overnight, we just weren't there anymore. If for whatever reason you think it couldn't happen here, it's because you didn't study history. We have a prayer that we say every day. Let us go back to the land of Israel standing up straight. Why standing up straight? Because today you can die in New York. You can die in LA. Your family has enough money, they put you in a coffin, a special airplane. Don't worry, the Kohanim don't get tameh over there in the airplane. And you get buried in Jerusalem. Because Jerusalem is not good enough for you to live in, but it's good enough to send your dead bodies to. Understand the ugliness of where the Jewish people are at today? It's okay for us to die in Israel. We don't want to live there though. Chaz v'shalom. So we'll go for yeshiva, we'll go for seminary, and we'll all come back home to Los Angeles, to San Diego, to New York, to Chicago, to Philadelphia, to all the good places for the Jews. Because it's dangerous in Israel. Because it's too hard in Israel. Because our rabbis told us we don't have to be in Israel. There's a reason, there's a whole chapter in the Kuzari. There's one chapter about believing in Hashem, believing in God. And there's a second chapter just as long about believing in the land of Israel. And it makes me wonder, why do you have to write so much about believing in the land of Israel? Okay, I believe I got it. Because the Jewish people don't get it. Because if we really got it, we would be home already. Because last year, I wrote to you when I was in Jerusalem. I was in Tisha B'Av in Yerushalayim. Tisha B'Av, I went to the Kotel on the night of Tisha B'Av. I think they said at least 50 or 60,000 people were there. 50,000 people are sitting on the floor at the Kotel. What is the Kotel? It's a wall. The Kotel is a wall. It's a holy wall, but it's a wall. Where are we supposed to be? On top of that wall. And 60,000 Jews are sitting on the floor, crying their eyes out, ripping their clothes, not wearing shoes, not eating, not drinking, fasting, crying, Hashem, one day you'll bring us back to the Temple Mount. One day we'll build the Beit HaMikdash. One day we'll take over Jerusalem. Tell me 60,000 Jews could just walk up to Temple Mount. Who's going to stop you? 20 police officers? 30 soldiers? Who's going to stop you? 1,000 Arabs? What are they going to do? 60,000 people? But we still sit on the floor crying. Because we don't yet believe in Eretz Yisrael. The Jewish people don't believe in it yet. There's a famous man, Baron Rothschild, if I'm not mistaken. He tried to build a place for Jews to pray in the Temple Mount. He wanted on the Erev Pesach the Jews should bring the Pesach offering. And he got permission from Rabbi Akiva Eger. Don't say not mainstream. He got pretty mainstream Haskama to build a Mizbeach, an altar in Jerusalem, in the Temple Mount. He got the Arabs, he paid them enough that they let him do it. And all he needed was to gather donations from everybody in the Jewish community. Not because he needed the money, because when you do a Korban Pesach, everybody has to be involved in it. And he went around collecting for the Pesach offering. The first time in 2,000 years we're going to build an offering in the Temple Mount. And nobody wanted to give him money. It's not time yet, Mashiach didn't come yet, you know the answers. So he writes back to Rabbi Akiva Eger and tells him it's okay. Clearly, if the Jewish people don't want to go to the Temple Mount, it's not time for them to go to the Temple Mount. If they don't want to go, so how can you force them? It's up to the Jews. There's a famous Hasidic Rebbe whose name is slipping my mind right now. They said, what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? We should ask Mashiach, what took you so long? And this Rebbe said, have you ever thought for a minute that maybe we're not the ones waiting for Mashiach? Maybe Mashiach is waiting for us? Maybe we haven't done what it is that we need to do? And when I sat down to prepare a shiur, which I was going to teach, I promised you, I was going to teach a class about the Kuzari tonight. And I was thinking about, why does the Kuzari need to go out of his way to prove to you how important the land of Israel is for the Jewish people? And then I realized, because we still have the same problem. Because we don't realize. There's a famous historian from New York. You know him, he's written many books. That he wanted to take it, he always does tours of like Poland, tours of Warsaw, that's like, of Prague, he wants to go to Prague, tours of, even he does tours of Sephardic place, Spain, whatever. He's a historian, very famous rabbi, he was a historian. And he once wanted to do a trip to Israel, like 3 years ago. I had a friend who was involved, and he normally gets groups of hundreds of people. People pay a lot of money to go on these tours. Israel, not enough people signed up to make a program. Because the Jewish people would rather go to Poland to visit a concentration camp, to see where tens of thousands of Jews were killed, instead of going to Israel to see what happens when Jews get together to build their own country and they live the life they want to live. I know a rabbi in the old city of Yerushalayim. He went on a Poland trip. He went to go see the concentration camps. He went to 1 camp, 2 camps, 3 camps, and he cut the trip early. He flew back to Israel. When I asked him, why'd you come back early? He said, I already got the message. The message is, look what happens when Jews stay outside of Eretz. I'm not here to scare anybody. To the contrary. You believe in Hashem? If you believe in Hashem, you have to believe that Hashem gave us a Torah. In that Torah, Hashem gave us a land of Israel. If that's part of the land of Israel, is part of believing in Hashem, I can't say, Hashem, I believe in half of your Torah. I only believe in the parts that I like. The Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, next week I'm going to talk about it. The Ramban says that any mitzvah that you do outside of the land of Israel doesn't count. Do you know this, Ramban? The Ramban says the only reason we keep mitzvot outside of the land of Israel are on a rabbinic level. So that when we remember how to keep mitzvot, to go back to Israel. So let's say, tefillin, you don't have to put it on according to the Ramban. But you put on tefillin so that when you move to Israel, the Jews will remember how to do tefillin. Now, nobody else agrees with the Ramban. That's why you still do mitzvot, right? I'm not here to take away your mitzvot. But it's an important thing to realize. Every bracha that you make, an haaretz v'al mazon, an haaretz v'al michya, an haaretz, nodeh lecha an haaretz tova, everything is about the land of Israel. It has to be part of our belief. It has to be central to everything we believe in. Hashem, I believe in you, and I believe that we have a homeland. That's part of who we are. So we're here. Does it make us bad citizens of the world? No. Every country that we go to so far, the Jewish people don't blow up planes, we're not hijacking cars, we're not busy murdering people. Every country the Jewish people go to, we get involved and we try to make a difference. Almost every non-profit that I've Googled has in some high rank a Jewish person. Even the non-profits against the Jewish people. I've checked out some of the most anti-Semitic non-profit groups. Like, oh look, Mr. Goldberg is leading this group. Why does he hate himself so much? I don't know, but it's part of being Jewish.
And a lot of the leaders of Black September were Jews.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So you have here This idea that Am Yisrael is misugal. Everywhere we go, we want to be good. We're here in San Diego. We want to do the best we can to make San Diego a better place for all the people who live in San Diego. We're not against that idea. That doesn't mean that we don't have a home that we go to. A person has a job. They have a wife, they have kids, they have a husband, they have kids, but they also go to work from 9 to 5. Just because you love your house, your family so much, does it mean that you don't do a good job at work? No, of course not. From 9 to 5, I'm on duty. I'll take care of everything I need to do at work. When 5 o'clock is over, I'm back home. It's my kids, it's my wife, it's my husband. That's all I care about. Same thing with the Jewish people. For 2,000 years, we're at work. Time for us to start caring about ourselves too, though. We can't neglect our family. We can't neglect our country. I'm just worried about the time.
I'm not. They have all night till tomorrow morning.
Let me do a little bit of Kuzari, just a little bit, so that we said that we did Kuzari. Yeah.
You wanna come help, Bego? Yeah, Yvonne, you know what
The
you signed up
Kuzari
for?
already said, I don't understand what's so special about those who live in the land of Israel over anyone else. And then we start talking about that. A Navi, a prophet, can only receive Nivuah, prophecy, inside of the land of Israel. That's a fact. He only receives prophecy inside of the land of Israel. Why? There's something called Segula. What does Segula mean? It doesn't mean chosen people. It means,
Propitious.
I don't even know what that word means.
That's what Misugal means in English.
Misugal means able. Misugal. A person who's able to. The Jewish people are misugal. What are we so chosen for? You think we're the best people in the world? There are people in the world that are nicer than the Jewish people, that are more ethical than Jewish. There are all kinds of people in the world. Well, we have a monopoly on who's good. People say to be Jewish just means you have to be a good person. Are we saying that all the people in the world who are not Jewish are not good people? What kind of racist are you? That's such an ugly thing to say. I watched a video of the Pope last week. I don't know anything about the Pope. I never met him before. He gave a nice little 3-minute clip over there. He sounds like a nice guy. Now, I don't know him. For all I know, he could be an inquisitor. I mean, it could be. But from what I see, he's a good person. Why do I have to say that because he's not Jewish, he's not a good person? The only thing we claim to have a monopoly on, and this might sound like a big deal, it is a big deal. We claim to be the only nation on earth that Hashem revealed himself to in person. No messages, no angels, no books that fell out of heaven, no one guy walking down a road having a vision. 3 million Jews stood on Mount Sinai and spoke to God face to face. That's all we claim to have a monopoly on. Because of that, we believe that we have the way to connect to Hashem. Does that mean there is no other way to connect to Hashem? No. Judaism doesn't go to missionize to other people because you don't have to be Jewish to be close to God. We have a suggestion. Don't worship idols, don't murder people, we have suggestions for the world, how to connect to Hashem. But aside from that, you could be whatever religion you want. Am Yisrael has a way for the Jewish people to connect to Hashem. So we're misugal. We are able, 1, to connect to Hashem. 2, we have the power of prophecy. All the prophets, Moshe Rabbeinu, Yoshua, Yechezkel, Yeshayahu, Chizkiyahu, Micha, Daniel, all of them were Jewish prophets that brought messages to the world that are important. Even the people who are not Jewish read those prophets as prophets. And we believe that we have that ability. But that ability is very much connected to where we are at. So you can have a phone that has really high processing, really fast processing. Forgive my ignorance and how I'm explaining this. But if you're not connected to some kind of server, I had my iPhone recently, it just didn't work. It wasn't connecting to Sprint's tower. So I have a $1,300 iPhone that doesn't connect to anything. I can't even make a phone call with it. It's like a brick. That's what it's good for. You can have a jewel, you're a perfect person, but you live outside of Israel, so how do you expect to be connected to the Israeli cell phone towers? How could it be? You have to be not just the right person, but in the right place and time. And that place is the land of Israel. And then you see that people start fighting over the land of Israel. Our earliest fight about Eretz Yisrael is who?
Negadim.
Who?
Our earliest fight.
Fight about the land of Israel. But you see, this is the reason why Avraham Avinu is willing to pay so much money to bury his wife in
Machpelah.
Marat Machpelah. What does he care? Why bury her on the side of the road? It's not like she's there anymore. Why do you care where you bury somebody?
Because you buy the land.
It's our land, but more important, it's part of a chain of people. Adam Rishon was the person who brought revelation of God to the world. He wants her to show we're the continuation of those people. It's very important for Avraham Avinu to do that. The Jewish people are essentially the heart of the world. What does it mean, the heart of the world? We believe that our job is to pump spirituality to the whole world. Pump Hashem to the whole world. What is a heart? Can a heart exist without an arm or a leg or a body or a head? Nothing. It's an important body part, but it's unable to exist without the rest of the body. The Jewish people feel the same way. We believe we have a task, a mission to bring things to the world, but that doesn't make us independent of the world. It doesn't make us that we are, people say, chosen. I don't like this chosen people. Chosen of what? I choose you to take out the trash. I'm the chosen son. What does that mean? You're chosen for a very specific task. But a Jew who chooses not to do that task, what's so special about him or her? A Jew says, I don't want to be connected to Hashem. I don't want to be connected to all mitzvot. So what's so special about you? The fact that you were born Jewish, but we're not racist.
It's not incumbent on you to finish the work, but neither are you free to desist.
Pirkei Avot. Eretz Yisrael goes down to Egypt with how many people? 70 people. Why 70? What does the number 70 represent in Judaism?
Number of nations.
The number of nations in the world. There may be more than 70 nations in the world, but when our rabbis use the term 70, 70 always refers to everybody. Every nation in the world has a connection to the land of Israel. The land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people, but not because it belongs to the Jewish people. Because the Jewish people are the heart of the whole world. And therefore, every organ in the world has to have some connection to the land of Israel. That's why 70 souls go down to Egypt, because we're all in this together. The world, when the world votes, the Jewish people should come back home. You may think it was just a UN resolution, but it's a big deal. It's the world doing teshuvah for something that it didn't believe in for 2,000 years. The Jewish people have the right to not just a homeland, but to our homeland. And so they didn't get the homeland well. They don't understand everything that's going on. But it's very important for Am Yisrael. Cain and Hevel start fighting. What are they fighting about, Shalom?
Well, Abel had a better sacrifice than Cain.
So Cain gets jealous of heaven.
Yeah.
And?
Then smashes his head with a rock or something.
And he kills him. Yeah? Who smashed his head with a rock? And he killed him. Why does he kill him?
Jealousy.
I'll read to the Midrash. Al ma hayu medaynin? What were they fighting about? Ela ze omer bitchumi bet mikdash nivne. One says, in my territory, the Bet Mikdash should be built. Uve ze omer bitchumi bet mikdash nivne. And one said, no, I want the temple to be built in my territory.
זה מדרש?
ומתוך כך, ויקום קין אל הבל אחיו, ויהרגהו. בראשית רבה. And he gets up and kills his brother. This is not just a fight over land. It's a fight over who's going to be that chosen people. Who's going to be the one who not just has the chosen ability, but also the chosen land. Cain thinks that it's all about the land. He thinks if I get him to die and I take his land, then I go on. I now have prophecy. What he doesn't realize is you need both. You need both. Korah, very good. These are similar fights that happened in our history. You need to also be that person and to also have that land. And this continues. We have Yitzchak and Ishmael. Avraham Avinu has to throw Ishmael out of the house. Why does he do that? What does the Torah say?
He was selling drugs.
Vatomer leAvraham. Sarah tells her husband Avraham, Garesh ha'ama azot vet bena. Throw out this midwife, this concubine and her son. Ki lo yirash ben ha'ama azot im bni im Yitzchak. Because this son shouldn't inherit with my son Yitzchak. Inherit what? What is he getting? Avraham Avinu's money? Avraham Avinu already sent his money around to all his children. What's he worried about? It's this land. It's a fight about land that already happens in the times of Avraham. You think today Jews and Arabs are fighting over land of Israel? It's a new thing. It's an old thing. We've been doing this for a long time. Since we threw them out of the house, they always want to come back. It happens. It's part of our history. It's part of what was in the past. It will be in the future. In order to understand what we're going to do next week, I'll end off with one more thing. Next week we're going to talk about the double standards about the land of Israel. Certain things you can do in Eretz Yisrael that you can't do outside of Eretz Yisrael. Kind of like the Bet Mikdash. In the Bet Mikdash, you're not allowed to worship idols, correct? It's one of the 10 Commandments. Don't make God gold or silver idols for you. But in the heart of our temple, in the heart of Jerusalem, in the heart of the land of Israel, in the heart of the world, there stands an idol. There's golden angels. They're in the Holy of Holies. We care about which direction they face, which direction they don't face. Tell Hashem, am I allowed to have idols or am I not allowed to have idols? Every holy place that you go to, you take off your shoes. Who does this? Moshe Rabbeinu. Where else do you take off your shoes?
Do the Muslims take them?
On the Temple Mount.
Yes.
Everybody on the Temple Mount doesn't wear shoes. But the Kabbalists tell us that you're not allowed to walk anywhere without shoes. It's dangerous to walk barefoot, not physically, spiritually. It's against halakha. Halakha, not really. Kabbalah, yes, it's against Kabbalah. You can't even sit on the ground. You have to put something between you and the earth. But somehow in the temple, you walk without shoes. Moshe Rabbeinu takes off his shoes. Something's changing in the land of Israel than it is everywhere else.
There's a thought I heard once where it says for every non-kosher act or every non-kosher item and every non-kosher thing, there's a kosher equivalent.
Correct. The Talmud says this. That everything has... Look, you wanted to have shrimp, and for all these years you can't have shrimp. And then, Ash discovers kosher shrimp.
What?
It's imitation crab, or imitation shrimp, or imitation... They put it in sushi at every Jewish wedding you go to, no?
Yeah.
At every houses I go to, the Jews are using bacon bits, but they're not real bacon bits, they're pirate bacon bits. I don't know what bacon tastes like. But I have a friend who's a shochet, and he says he makes this bacon out of lamb fat meat. And it seems like once upon a time he wasn't always that religious, and he knows what bacon tastes like. He said it tastes the same. I don't know if it's true. I wasn't there. But yeah, there is such an idea that for everything kasher, you can have something not kasher. But the land of Israel has a whole special side to it. Maybe to explain it, I'll tell you one thing. I was once in the airport, and I was praying Amidah. I did this yesterday, yesterday. I had to pray. I got to the airport at like 5 o'clock in the morning, so I had to pray later. I had to wait till the sun goes up. So I'm putting on my tefillin. It's the weirdest feeling in the world to pray in front of a whole room of people that don't know what you're doing. Especially nowadays when like strapping on black boxes to your body might be like a bomb or something like that. You don't know what they're thinking about you. And I'm saying Shema and I'm taking Amidah. My rule is that when I take 3 steps back after the Amidah, when I'm in a public place, I don't bow 3 directions. You know what we do? I don't do it. Why? Because I was once in a place where I took 3 steps back and I bowed this direction, that direction, this direction. And so, oh, you see, you Jews also believe in the Trinity. You also believe in a 3-part God. Hey, wait a second, hold on, stop. We don't believe in any 3-part God. What are you talking about? You bowed in 3 different directions. From here, then you have to be very careful. Because the things that you do could be misinterpreted. There are things that we're not allowed to do outside of the land of Israel because there are people who are watching us. But when you're inside of the land of Israel, things change. When you're inside of the Beit HaMikdash, things change even more. And when the Kohen Gadol is in the Holy of Holies, things change even more because it has something to do with the way the Jewish people worship Hashem inside of the land of Israel. You'll find that Avraham Avinu doesn't offer any sacrifices before he gets to the land of Israel. Because idol worshippers offer sacrifices too. And so long as he was with idol worshippers, he was fighting to believe in one God. So he was not going to do anything that looks like he believes in another God. But once he goes back to the land of Israel, all of a sudden he has the luxury to do all kinds of things that he wasn't able to do before. That's Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the place where Jews can go back home to be Jewish. We don't have to worry about what other people are going to say. I don't have to teach my kids, there's special lights that come up in December, they're celebrating a holiday that we don't believe in. I don't have to have that conversation with him. The only thing he knows what happens in December in Israel is they make jelly donuts. Sufganiyot and crumbles, they start coming out. Everything else, who knows? The buses even say Happy Hanukkah. You have to work really hard to find something that's not Hanukkah in Israel. Which, by the way, is on the other side of the story. You have other people have to say, hey, listen, we grew up in Israel, we're not Jewish, and these jelly donuts are not part of our religion, right? You have to have the other conversation. But it's the place where we go to just be. Some people, they go to their room to lock the door just so they can be. They put on their music and they disappear into their mind. Some people, they do that in the shower. That's why it takes them 45 minutes to shower, because they're just like meditating about the whole world. And there are some people that they get into bed and their whole day they're thinking about stupid things. They get into bed and all of a sudden, like all the questions of the universe come to their mind in bed. It's like the existential crisis, like what's going to be if the... Why are you thinking about it now? Now go to sleep. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, because something about being in the dark and being under your covers and being in bed, it just changes the way you work. When the Jewish people go back home, all of a sudden we experience the world very differently than we were on display in the rest of the world. Our religion is different. And perhaps that's what the Ramban is saying. Everything you do here is just for pretend, because the real experience only happens when you go home. When you go home, all of a sudden you're doing this differently. You can't even choose in Israel to not be, because whether you like it or not, someone's going to hand you a donut, or someone's going to put on your bus Happy Hanukkah, or someone's going to say, hey, Shabbat Shalom, and you're going to say Shabbat Shalom. Even if the person doesn't keep Shabbat, it's Shabbat Shalom. Because today's Shabbat, even if you don't keep it, that's our home. B'ezrat Hashem, next week we'll continue to discover what the Kuzari says about the land of Israel, I hope that by the end of these 3 weeks that we're studying together, at least that part of the Kuzari will have ironed out. And you'll walk away feeling like, hey, Rabbi Moshe Chagiz didn't write a letter about me. He didn't write a letter about a person who didn't really study properly. He didn't write a letter about a person who doesn't believe in Hashem. I'm a different person than I was at the beginning of these 3 weeks. And God willing, to the learning that we do together, I'm positive that we'll go back to it.